I'm joined now by Ijagwu, who is the Director of Corporate Affairs at the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. He joins me live here now. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, this marks the significant moment when it comes to, in terms of the effort of the Commission to protect the rights of consumers, but specifically with these MOU, can you outline, key areas of collaboration in this agreement? Let's start from there.
Yes, thank you for having me. We actually consider it a milestone achievement in the sense that it's quite difficult for regulators to work together in our climate. You have a situation where operators exploit certain cracks between regulators, and then at the end of the day, consumers suffer. So for us, it's a good development. It's such a great one today. And we're happy that we're forging ahead. So in terms of what the relationship entails, we have our various mandates. The NCC, for instance, it licenses operators in that sector, and then it also sets the ground norms for their behavior. It controls their behavior essentially. And for us, we are a consumer protector as well as an agency that promotes competition in the marketplace. We ensure that there is fairness in whatever happens in the marketplace. So we have looked at our two jurisdictions and we're saying, yes, how does this benefit consumers? How do we relate in a manner that consumers will have value for their money and operators will also have seamless operation? So we looked at areas of our strengths and weaknesses, and we'll now say, okay, look, we'll collaborate in such a manner that where it borders on consumer protection, we know we hold sway. We know we have a mandate that supersedes a whole lot of others in the country. But we would be deferring to operators within the telecom sector, for instance, if they have issues that border on consumer protection and maybe unfair business practices. We defer to the NCC that has the wherewithal to be able to sort out certain things quickly. So we will be relating in terms of consumer protection, in terms of complaint resolution, in terms of even monitoring of sales promotion, and a whole lot of others.
Just about a week ago, I remember that the NCC and, of course, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, met with stakeholders, operators in the sector, just to discuss around the tariff, proposed a tariff increase about 100%. The NCC did say they were going to look into it and see the come out in the next maybe 2 weeks. One more week to go, but now we're hearing that perhaps that has been postponed. But with this, particularly with this MOU, what do we expect to see in terms of implementation measures that we expect to see to protect consumer rights and ensure fair market practices in the telecoms industry?
Yes, we'll all be deploying our resources to ensure that enactments are enforced, because I think one of the challenges we have in almost every sector in Nigeria is the implementation of enactments, legislation, and regulations, so to say. So in the extant case, we have agreed to collaborate in such a way that where it requires joint deployment of resources to enforce regulations, to enforce legislation, we'll be doing so. So you would see that at the end of the day, the consumers will be better for it, because definitely, one, there is will on the part of both agencies to ensure that consumers are well protected. And then there will be a joint implementation and enforcement of certain enactments within our various jurisdictions.
Are we going to see something like sanctions in terms of fine, and all of that for?
Those are part of it.
Get to that level.
It's part of it.
Okay, but yes. Consumer complaints in the telecom sector often revolve around billings and service quality as well. How does this collaboration address, that recurring issue? Because each time you talk about billing, higher billing, of course you don't get commensurate, services for it. How is this going to address that area?
Yes, I think in the telecom sector, it's not even so much with billing, because that's one area where we have the per second billing that works quite well. But one of the problems we have in the telecom sector that consumers complain about is quality of service. The other one border on issues like depletion of data. You buy data maybe for a given amount. You haven't used the data up to that amount, and then suddenly it disappears from your device. Those are the kind of complaints that we have in this sector. But quality of service is very big there, and definitely this relationship would definitely address the issue of quality of service squarely.
Are we likely to see these, applied in with another sectors? Yes, with other sectors and services. For instance, the power sector and all of that. Are we likely to see that?
It is already ongoing in the power sector. We have an existing relationship in that sector. And in all other sectors, we actually believe that this should spur every other sector regulator to come to us to negotiate an MOU and then get it executed.
Data privacy, it's a growing concern for telecom users, for instance. Is there a specific framework within this MOU, that address, such concern? And is there also a monitoring mechanism? Yes, of course, I know that all of these perhaps would have been captured, but tell us specifically, is there a monitoring mechanism to ensure that these objectives, within the MOU are met? So what should consumers expect?
Yes, there's a joint working group that would be ensuring that every letter of the MOU is implemented to the letter.
Right.
So yes, that body is there. It's a body that would comprise both organizations, and it's within the framework of the MOU. So we're going to have more intense activities in every area of our operations in terms of monitoring, and then also ensuring that the right things are done, and where there is need for sanctions will be applied. Also, where there is need for corrective measures, definitely they would also be undertaken.
Ondaje Ijagwu is the Director of Corporate Affairs at FCCP. So thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight.
Thank you for having me.